Grateful to the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee for joining me here today. My thoughts are with Vice Chair Ted Lieu, who is tending to some family matters as well. It's clear that the American people want us to tackle the affordability crisis. They voted to lower their own costs. They didn't vote to lower corporate tax rates. Donald Trump and House Republicans have decided that your concerns aren't as important as the billionaire donors that he has made promises to. Trump repeatedly said during the campaign that he would bring costs down. At a rally in Pittsburgh, he said, quote, "A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper." In North Carolina, he said, quote, "From the day I take the oath of office, we will rapidly drive prices down." Fast forward to today, and he is already abandoning that promise to working people, telling Time magazine that actually driving costs down is, quote, "very hard." Was he lying the whole time, or has something changed? You know, it is hard. It is hard to lower the costs of living if you spend all of your time and energy trying to pass a massive tax cut for billionaires at the expense of the American people, serving your billionaire cabinet over the people who put you in office. Some of the same companies that charge these prices is who he is now advocating for. Under Trump and the Republican controlled Congress, the American people will pay more for less. House Democrats have a plan to bring down the cost of living for working families by banning corporate price gouging, building more homes to tackle the affordability crisis, and cutting taxes for working Americans to give them the breathing room that they need. Would now like to yield to the DPCC Chair, Debbie Dingell.
Thanks, Pete. And I want to thank Pete for all of his hard work in organizing the caucus, preparing us for the 119th caucus. And we are going to really be ready for next year. We are ready. House Democrats are ready for what lies ahead. So we're going to, if there are things that are going to help the people that we represent, we're going to be working with everybody. And if they are going to be doing things that are going to only help Donald Trump's friends, the billionaires, we're not going to sit by and be quiet. We are prepared for the work ahead. And I'm going to give you an example of where, well, we're probably not all together even on our side some days. Tariffs are a tool in the toolbox. If you're from an auto state, you got manufacturing, you got steel, I'm going to work with them to protect my workers. But there are also things that last Saturday at home, I sat with a group of people in Ann Arbor. And I had a young man who voted for Donald Trump who said to me, you know, Democrats didn't take seriously the discussion about the cost of a dozen eggs. That really matters to somebody like me who's 27 years old and can't make enough money to succeed. And now he's saying it's hard to lower the cost. We are going to work to lower those grocery prices. We've been doing it and we're going to continue to do it. Well, he talks about we're not going to let people defund public services like veterans care or take caring of our kids or what seniors rely on. And his most recent is he's talking about privatizing the post office, which would hurt rural Americans the most, and especially seniors and others who depend upon the United States Postal Service to deliver their medications. I'm going to ask you, is the agenda that we're hearing right now the agenda that works for everyday working men and women? House Republicans want to give tax breaks, but who's going to get the tax breaks? Those everyday working men and women we are going to fight for, and they're going to give a lot of benefits to the ultra wealthy. I'm just one of those people that think the wealthy should have to pay their fair share and corporations should be paying their fair share. Democrats are the ones that are going to put working families first. We always do. We're the party of Social Security and Medicare, the party of job creators, and quite frankly, road repairers, the party of common sense gun safety. And our hearts again go out to the families as we watched another senseless, not understandable shooting in Wisconsin yesterday. We're not going to stop fighting for you. So I want to thank you for being here. I'm wishing all of you a happy holiday season and turning this over to my co-chair, Lauren.
Well, thank you, Debbie. And good morning, everybody. This is our last week here before we head back home to our families and our communities for our holiday break, closing out what has been a very eventful year and a very eventful 118th Congress. Through it all, every step of the way, our House Democratic Caucus has made it clear that we put people over politics, and we're focused on the issues that working families are focused on. We show up every day to make life better for the American people and to do the work that they sent us here to do. Bringing down costs, keeping our government funded and open, getting families high quality, affordable health care. Our community sent us here to solve problems, and that has been and will continue to be our focus as we head into the 119th Congress. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for House Republicans. It's been a few weeks since we learned the results of the election, and in that time, they have made their priorities for the next 2 years completely clear. They want sweeping tax breaks for the richest and wealthiest Americans, paid for with deep cuts to Social Security and Medicare. They've attacked LGBTQ Americans. They have plans for a nationwide abortion ban and that they will support tariffs that will bring pain on working families. And that's just what the House Republicans have been up to. Donald Trump has been busy starting on Project 2025, walking back on his campaign promises and filling his cabinet with unqualified and alarming picks. It's extremism and it's completely out of touch with our communities. And while we will always work to find common ground on any issue, we will not yield to this, not now and not throughout the 119th Congress. Now, our job as the DPCC is to make sure that our caucus has the tools to communicate these priorities decisively to the American people. And we are very, very excited about the work ahead. Thank you. And for more, I'm happy to turn it over to Lori Trahan.
Well, thank you, Lauren. Thank you to Chair Aguilar for hosting us. The American people made it clear in November what they want from Washington: lower costs, better jobs, and a clear focus on the issues that matter most to working families. What they didn't vote for is Donald Trump undermining and defunding the government services that actually work for them. That's why many Americans were understandably shocked by yesterday's announcement that President-elect Trump is seeking to privatize the United States Postal Service. Millions of Americans rely on the mail every day for their life-saving prescriptions, to pay their bills, receive their social holidays, mail out their presents. And they do it through the USPS because they can do it in a timely fashion and at a cost they can afford. That's why year in and year out, the Postal Service is rated one of the most trusted, reliable agencies in our country. Tell me how gifting this service to a billionaire CEO who will raise prices to pad their bottom line helps working families who will be forced to pay more. You can't, because it doesn't make any sense. This is a classic bait and switch by Donald Trump, who since Election Day has proven that he was willing to say one thing on the campaign trail, but do another in office. In fact, in addition to taking steps to increase Americans' shipping and delivery costs, the president-elect is also walking back his promise to lower grocery prices. He's not even in office yet, and he's decided that it's just too hard. Let's be clear, House Democrats will not give up on the fight to lower prices for working families, and we're willing to work hard with any of our colleagues who are serious about joining us in that effort. But privatizing the United States Postal Service will do the opposite. It'll raise prices for families, and House Democrats will oppose any effort like that that will hurt hardworking Americans. Thank you, and it's now my pleasure to turn it over to my fellow co-chair, Maxwell Frost.
Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everybody. And like Chair Dingell did, I just want to express my condolences to the families and the people who lost their lives and lost loved ones in the horrible shooting that happened yesterday. You know, I love the Maya Angelou quote: when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. When Donald Trump went to the NRA headquarters and said, "I'm going to work for you," I believed him.
when he goes to billionaires and oil executives and says, you give me X amount of contributions and I will do everything I can to make sure you make more money, I believed him then. And what we're seeing now is him living up to the promises that he gave to the most wealthiest people in this country, valuing profits over our lives and our livelihood as working people. The images that come to mind are the fact that yesterday there was a second grader on the floor on the phone with 911 to say that there was a shooter in the school. And while that second grader was on the floor making that call, their teacher was at the door with a pair of scissors, ready to defend the lives of the kids in the classroom. When just a few months ago on the campaign trail, Donald Trump made it clear that he values the profits of the gun industry more than he values the lives of our children and our people. The images that come to mind are billionaires like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy walking through the halls of Congress, talking about firing unelected bureaucrats when they're actually talking about civil servants and people who help make our government work. And this is Donald Trump living up to the promises he gave the wealthiest in this country, that he would do everything he can for them. But he also lied to a bunch of us. He lied to the working class people because he's not fighting for us. I mean, just look at the fact that he's amassed one of the richest cabinets in the history of this country. I don't know how he expects, I don't expect a man worth $340 billion, Elon Musk, to decide what's going to happen with the agency, Social Security Administration, that's going to administer my mother's $1,200 Social Security check. So these are the things that we hope people will pay attention to over these next 4 years, is that Donald Trump has lied to us, but he's living up to his promise to his billionaire friends. And he will continue to live up to the promise to the wealthiest people in this country. And that's why we're going to work hard as House Democrats, of course, to figure out where we can work with our Republican colleagues, but we're going to fight. We're going to fight for people, no matter who you are, because we believe that seeing the world through the eyes of the most vulnerable is the best way to legislate. And that's what makes us different than the Republican Party. So thank you, and I'll yield back to the chair.
Thank you, Maxwell. Thank you to my colleagues for their comments. I'm happy to take some questions. Go ahead. We're ready to go. This is part of our organizational process, electing ranking members. I want to congratulate Angie Craig, who will take the gavel of the Agriculture Committee, Jared Huffman, who will be the ranking member of the Natural Resources Committee, and Jerry Connolly in Government Oversight. Also want to congratulate those who ran against them, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jim Costa, and Melanie Stansbury. We're the Democratic Caucus. There are different ideas and viewpoints within the caucus, but we're moving forward, and this is part of our internal process. We will now populate committees and get ready for the 119th Congress. I don't think that there's much more to read into that other than Democrats run for offices, and some of us have run for offices and come up short in these leadership elections. So nothing is final, and congratulate those ranking members who are taking leadership positions of these committees, and look forward to working with them over the next Congress. Nick? Well, we'll see. You know, with the Democratic Caucus, the details matter. We're going to review the language on its merits. I haven't seen any details or any final language yet. We've been hoping that would be posted soon. But one of the things that we know very clearly is that House Democrats will be needed to pass government funding. That has been the case this Congress. It will continue to be the case even in the next Congress. House Republicans are going to need our votes, so we look forward to working with them to be partners in how we fund government. But this is a lesson for Speaker Johnson. I mean, you know, work with us. Let's find solutions. Let's tune out the most extreme voices in your conference, and let's find that consensus that will be necessary to fund government. That's the only way that this can move forward. And we look forward to seeing the substance of the legislation before we vote on it. Michael? I think Donald Trump has a interest in things that help Donald Trump. I think that's the lesson there. You noted that he was supportive of the ban before he is walked that back. I and a lot of other Democrats, for national security purposes, voted for that piece of legislation. The legislation allows a process to take place, but January is an important part of that process. So I continue to support the piece of legislation that requires the divestment or sale. There could be a delay or a window of discussion within the legislation, but I agree with the spirit and the letter of the law and look forward to the administration following the law. Well, again, with the caveat that we're waiting to see the language of what's included, but House Democrats have been very clear that the lapsing farm bill is important to us. It's important for rural America. It's important for nutrition programs across the country. It's important that we continue that program. So that has been an important piece that the Democratic Caucus and our members have been focused on. Also, the disaster recovery and assistance. The natural disasters that have happened over the past few months, especially down in the South, require our assistance and support. The administration has thoughts on the disaster package as well. They have transmitted those to Congress, and we look forward to robust disaster assistance being a part of this CR. Our communities need this help and support. We need to ensure that every community has that ability to recover and rebuild, and that we don't play favorites, whether you're in a red state or a blue state. That should not matter. It does not matter to us. It may matter in a future administration, and so we want to make sure that we get that done today. So those are the important pillars in addition to continuing funding and making sure that vital government programs don't lapse funding between now and March.
I think one other thing that we're also tracking, because there was a pileup of legislation that didn't get through in the sort of campaign season part of the year, we obviously want to make sure that telehealth flexibilities are extended. So many people in our communities rely on that to access their care. Transparency for pharmacy benefit managers to help continue to bring the prices down for people back home who are going to pharmacy counters, especially in this intense time of, cold and flu season. And, just making sure generally that we give access and affordable health care to hardworking families. And so we hope to make sure that's part of the negotiation as well. Thank you.
Special assist from my ENC colleagues. Thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder in the back. Well, look, again, we'll see in the next Congress what the details of the committee, and we talked about this at a prior briefing here, the difference between the Doge caucus of members versus the official committee that could be chaired by a member as well. But Democrats are willing to work with anyone to make government more efficient. I think that's the important piece. You know, we want to be responsive to everyday Americans. We want to deliver infrastructure projects in the fastest possible way. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that Democrats are willing to go and listen or go to a meeting and hear some thoughts and ideas on how we streamline government, how we respond to our constituents and become more efficient. Um, that's what is important. Now, there's a lot of caveats here, and my colleagues have talked about this. That does not mean that we support privatizing the Postal Service. That does not mean we are going to prioritize under a broader efficiency category, displacing jobs and vital services that the American public relies on. So we will speak out against those policies that hurt our communities. But we're going to listen and have conversations about efficiencies and making government more efficient. I was a mayor of a medium-sized city and have spent a lot of time, going over details and trying to find efficiencies where we can. My colleagues behind me have been in government collectively for decades at different levels, and that's who we are and what we stand for, and we're going to continue to do that. Anybody else on that?
It's important that it's important that if we really have representative government, everybody's at the table and everybody's had different perspectives. So there may be things that people are thinking about cutting, or they sound stupid, or they want to eliminate, but because they've never worked on the program, they don't understand the implications. So having people of different backgrounds and different perspectives in the same room at the same table is healthy. And I have had, I'm not going to name names, I have had very real conversations with people about manufacturing, or that they're like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So I think it's good for people to talk to each other, to listen to each other. 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. And so we should hope that as we go into the next year, I mean, tariffs is a good example where I remind my colleagues, tariffs are a tool in the toolbox. We need to listen to each other. And the other side can learn from us, we can learn from them.
Oh, we look forward to the details of these packages. As co-chair Trahan also mentioned, there's important pieces that aren't necessarily funding related, like additional authorities that we want to continue that are helpful and important. So nothing is final until everything is final. We want to see the details of this package, and so I think that's how we're going to approach it. But important priorities like disaster, like healthcare, like help for farmers, like disaster assistance, those are going to be the pieces, the components of this deal. We want to make sure that the numbers are right. We're going to have to see what the numbers are. But we've read the public reporting as well, and I think that tracks with the reporting that we've seen. We just look forward to seeing it in print, and I hope that Speaker Johnson puts this out soon so we can vote and enjoy our holiday time with our family. So the last point, we spend a lot of time here together. I want to thank you for everything this year, for working with us, for being the individuals responsible to help tell that story. You folks in this room exercising, ensuring and protecting the First Amendment. We won't always agree with what you write, every letter that you write, but we appreciate the work that you do. And it's incredibly important that you continue to do that work in the new year. So recharge and refresh. It's going to be a busy year. We thank you for the partnership in this, and look forward to seeing you all in the next year. Thank you.